Okay, I believe we're live. Happy days, we're back again. Oh, and we start off by losing a bleeding camera. Plug it back in, and we excellent. So, hello. Actually, I think I'm going to put my overalls on, just because my white shirt is going to mess up with the white balance. We can't have that, can we? Okay. As you can see, we've tidied up the workshop. We're nice and clean, ready for a new project. This one is going to be making a few pieces out of foam, a skull, a set of let me just put that there. A set of a skull, a set of feet themed for a dryad, so we're mostly going to be going for kind of woody, plant-based. We'll decide how detailed we're going to go at some point. And a little side project that I've been asked to keep on the QT, but that's not much of a problem. Okay, we're starting off with a pattern that I acquired off the Tintimaweb. This is a wolf skull. I bought it online. It's from the same place that I made the bull skull from. I will have to get the link for them from the next stream. So that's to be confirmed. And because I think we'll get a new blade because it's a new project. May as well start as we mean to go on. There we go. Okay, with these you can generally print them out on A4, but I've gone with A3. But when you obviously print, there's going to be a bit of a border, so you just need to take that off. And already we've messed up our brown paper. Joy! So we're just going to lay these down as close as we can. Using this tape because it's pretty see-through. Everything's pretty dusty, unfortunately. What we need to make is a pig skull. It's for I believe it's for a play of Animal Farm. But what we have is a wolf skull, which I'm just going to cut out and tweak a little. Just cut this into smaller bits so it's easier to cut out on my irritatingly small cutting surface. It's always nice working with new blades. They cut so easily. Great for going through the odd finger. There we go. And this will become the jaw. So we'll join there. That will join there. You can see with this, let's just zoom in a little. You see the way they've set it up. It's really nicely described. So that's part B18, that's part B19. So, and it says B19 goes there, B18 goes there, and those little dots indicate where they're supposed to join, and that will kind of go around there, and that will be one side of the jaw. B1. This is going to be made out of, as I say, foam. Generally, I use what's called plastazote. It's the brand name for LD45. B2. LD45 is kind of the technical name. Effectively, from what I believe, means that a set volume weighs 45, something like 1 kilogram weight, is sort of, it's effectively the definition of how heavy a specific sized block is, or how large a specific weight of foam is. So that way, if you sort of, you know, you say LD 35 would be a lighter, less dense foam than LD 45, which is similarly less dense than LD 60 or whatever. I think they're standard weights. I'm not sure what the ones are. I forget, to be honest. It's been a while. But LD45 plastazote is a nice weighted closed cell foam. Closed cell means that all the bubbles in the foam are effectively kind of closed. You don't get like in a sponge that would be an open cell, because effectively all the bubbles are open to each other. So closed cell, it won't let air all the way through, or water. Stuff won't soak completely through. So I do tend to float between calling it Plastazote and LD45, depending on which name I remember at any one point. It's good foam because it's not too rigid that if you hit someone over the head with it, it'll hurt. So it can be used for LARP weapons and light props, but it's not too wobbly that it is able to hold its size, shape. It has a nice rigidity to it. It's sort of that Goldilocks foam that makes it user-friendly for most purposes. For example, upholstery foam, the stuff that you generally have in cushions and that sort of thing, is much lighter, better for padding and big chunky weapons like hammers, and your heavier stuff generally better for use in armour. I have examples of the different types of foam. As you can imagine, there's a lot of different types of foam. This pattern basically makes one side of the foam, skull should I say, so we'll need to basically make 2 copies of this in the foam. both ways around. So this piece, for example, will make a copy like that, and then make a copy like that. Because each side of the skull will be mirrored. As I say, this isn't exactly a form for a pig skull. It's a wolf skull. But it shouldn't be too difficult to tweak. Well, hopefully it won't be too difficult to tweak and play with. Modify and get creative. Because the main difference really is the length of the snout. Obviously wolves have a much longer snout than your average pig. I did ask, because this is Animal Farm and this is supposed to be the bits kind of they dig up his skull and use it as an example to scare the other animals on Animal Farm. I asked whether or not they wanted the skull to have any flesh on. But apparently no, they want it nice and clean. So let's just lay out the bits. B7, B15. See if we can get an idea of what we're. That's B17. B11, we're looking for B10, B13. B13, B11, B15, 7, 9, and then should be 9. 4. B4, B7, B3. B2. I think we're running out of table a bit here. Oh, so B13. Okay, so that'll be the eye, I assume. Okay, this is interesting. Now that's the jaw position. Okay, so it's all going to kind of wrap around like this. That makes total sense to me. Does it make sense to you? Okay. Now let's just There is some instructions here on how to some lines are marked with an arrow. These lines must be cut at an angle. Tilt either inside or outside your shape based on its drawing. So we'll go with this. So the fact that that arrow is pointing inwards, so the cut should be inwards. That arrow is pointing outwards, so the cut should be outwards. That makes total sense. And they should all be at 45 degrees. Joy! Okay, that makes total sense, he says. Okay, so we'll go get the foam now. Joy. Oh, my bad. I probably should have got on the foam ahead of time, because obviously that would have made this process a whole lot easier. Oh dear me. Oh. Because it's right at the bottom. Oh no. Some of it is... Oh, that's not going to be enough, is it? Well, let's see what we can make out of it. Yes, definitely not enough foam, but maybe enough to make one half. Once we've made one half, the second half will be so much easier, won't it? Obviously, the foam I'm using is 1 centimetre thick. And where's number 3? B3. And that wants to be 4. 6. Seven. Eight, and that's in, and out. There's 9. Oh, 9's the Diddy one, isn't it? Can we squeeze that in there? I think we can. Ten. Yeah, that's all sloping in. That's 10. 11. It's much easier when they're sloping inwards. That way you don't have to worry about any extra foam. Twelve. 13. 'Goes in and that goes out. 14. 15. 16. Ah, as you can see, that's the center line. We only need to cut this one out once, because that, one would assume, is the back of the head. And it's this side that is top, bottom. So as in that, for these, that side is going to be for the ones that are cut that way. 18, and now for the jaw. Oh, can't forget. Nineteen. Ah, we are going to be okay. Who would have guessed? 20. Nice one. Okay, and because we want to be extra careful, I'm going to sit down for this. There you go. Piece one, all at 90 degrees. No cuts, no nothing. Perfect. Bit number two, once again 90 degrees. With stuff like this, it can be a little daunting worrying that, oh, what if I don't cut it exactly? Don't worry. Most of these tend to be quite forgiving. Foam flexes after all. So if you don't cut it perfect, you can always go back later and play with it. And of course 3 has that side that's at 45 degrees, so we have that little bevel. Before going in. And that's going out. That is at 90 degrees. Next it's 5. Probably should write that on there, it'll be helpful. So we've got the sets 90 degrees, and again 90 degrees. Now I technically shouldn't have done that, because cutting that one is fine, but cutting there, if I didn't have a sharp blade, that would be quite difficult to cut, because I'm effectively sort of going over kind of cut ground. Generally easier to cut towards a point if you don't have a very sharp blade. And there we go. Even with a sharp blade, you're going to have bits and bobs, and that'll go nicely. Lovely. It's 5. Next, I believe, is 6. Everything's at right angles, except for this one. Degrees and 90 degrees. 7 is that one. I'm noticing already my blade's getting a bit dull. You see, because of these sort of splobs. You can always break the end down, but I'm cheap, so I'm just gonna sharpen it a bit. 8. Yep. That's out. That's out. And that one's in. There we go. Not doing bad. And the tiny wee one. So that one's out. That one's in. And those two are at 90 degrees. Bit faffy. Next we have number 10. So this is all sloping inwards because this will be the eye socket. The ends, of course, 90 degrees. It's sometimes easier. Let me just. I'm going to cut that separate because it's going to be a bit faffy otherwise. See, even after that sharpening, it's still a bit. Obviously, I didn't give it much of a sharpen, but yeah, we'll smooth that out a little in post. Just. Next is 11. That's the straightish side inwards. The rest is straight. next one would assume it's 12. I didn't write that number down. Oh dear. I'm assuming that's 16 because that's the only one that I don't have with a number for. $14. See, it's only got lines here, so I'm assuming that's the only bit that actually needs to be beveled. But you know, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. No doubt messing it up completely, but that's where we get to have fun. It'll do. 15, and here's where we guess if we got that right. We did, it's 16. Huzzah. Out and in. And 90 and 90. We're almost done. Yeah, you can see it's kind of the nature of the beast that when you're kind of cutting a curve with a straight blade, you're going to get bits like that. But I'll show you how to just, you know, can you see the little jumps and sort of bits there? That's inevitable when you're trying to cut round a corner with a straight blade that's not infinitely sharp. But there are solutions, and we can show you afterwards. That's part of the tidy up. Just get rid of the offcuts. Ha ha! All of these are 90. Knowing that you are going to be kind of making imperfect cuts, it's always best to err on the side of caution and just cut a little bit larger than what you're going to need, because it's easier to take stuff off than it is to put it back again. Do. And the last piece. Huzzah! Just get a drink. Okay, we've got our bits cut out. I'll just lay them in some semblance of order. 13, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, tiny 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, usually I don't go into this much detail when I'm using one of my own forms, but because sort of this is such a detailed pattern, you kind of need to be a bit precious about it. Just to make sure you do it right. Okay. Now remember, I mentioned before that you can deal with issues later on. And now is the time. Oh, by the way, I've got a new part to my multi-tool. My flex self-destructed. Unfortunately, it died a death, so we had to get ourselves a new one. They're cheap enough though, so. And this one's got an inbuilt chuckady thing. So basically, as I say, when you're cutting imperfect corners like this, it's good to kind of give all your edges a quick buff. It helps to smooth out the cut, get them closer to being the edges you want. Once again, you don't have to be too careful with it. This is just to kind of get the surfaces a little bit more at 90 degrees or at the angle you want them to be at. Actually, I probably should put my mask on. Oh, excuse me. As we're going to make some dust. We love dust. This isn't toxic. Can you still hear me? Yes, excellent. Yeah, it's because it's plastic dust. It's not toxic, but we should worry about microplastics. Not really sure what effect microplastics have, but it's always good to err on the side of I don't want to have lots of plastic in me. So yeah, we're just kind of touching up the edges, making sure that the edges are a little straighter. It also helps the glue stick better. Because you're sort of ever so slightly roughing up the edges, you're giving the glue more surface area to stick to. This one's maybe hard to see, but that's got quite a problem because it was a tight inward corner. So this helps to smooth that off. choose the cut. Likewise, with this curve wasn't exactly what we're after, so this smooths it off. Because this always plain. But in the end, as I say, foam is wonderfully forgiving. You can squish it to fit the piece you're making. So if you don't exactly fit to the lines, it's not the end of the world. And you may have noticed that I'm always kind of, or generally, moving towards myself. This is because the drum is spinning, it kind of pulls towards me and pulls the thing I'm sanding away from me. So if I was to do that edge, it would keep that better, but if I was to try that, it would try and pull it, tear it that way. And by doing it the way I'm doing it, it stops, it's less likely that the foam will catch. And that's it done. They are ready for gluing. That is a little dry. My glue appears to have gotten a little on the dry side, so we're just giving it a bit of a mix with some glue I'd already thinned out. Oop. As that should bring a bit more life into the old glue. Yummy. A bit more thinness to it. Yeah, there we go. It's much more alive now. You want it thin, but not too thin that when it evaporates, there's no actual glue left. So, no, I think that's good enough. It's kind of like at the consistency of when I bought it. Yummy. Okay, let's just let that mature for a while. And I think I'm going to just lay out our pieces again to give myself a bit of an idea of what goes where. So 3, 4, 5, Just put you there for a second. 6. 7 and 6. 8 is that one. 9, 4, 8. 10. 11. 12 goes there. 13. 14. 15. 16. 17. And those are okay. So those can go separate because we're going to do those separate. So now we want to start coating our piece. Okay, now we're basically going to just contact adhesive all over the edges. And by the time we get to gluing them together, it should have dried. So 1, this is of course the messy part. Your hands will get covered in glue. Deal with it. Obviously, using a well ventilated room, Oh, lovely. Six. Seven. Eight. The tiny nine. Oh, my earphone's going out. Nine. That's 10. All I'm doing is counting up here. Shockingly enough, 11. Do-do-do. And 12. I know no one's probably going to hear this, but we do actually have some news. It just occurred to me to mention it. Well, I have very little to talk about. 13. I'm actually going to be making myself, or at least getting a friend of mine to make us a website. For kind of, because I've got all my kind of social media 14 on disparate different sort of areas. I've got a Facebook page and obviously this YouTube channel which everyone cares about. A place to kind of direct people as a first point of call. And 15. And it's a place to sell stuff I make. Because we need money. We're selling out. Well, a few people have actually said they really like the crystals. So I enjoyed making them, so why not create an area where if you like what you see, you can buy it. Okay, and just as you can see, it's sort of because been drying since I started, just start putting them together straight away and go together quite nicely. And 6 go together like so. Obviously, assuming this is the top, the head ridge. So 6. That. Yes, it does say that that's the middle line, so I only need to glue 1 5 together. And already we seem to be coming up with some kind of shape. That's 9. To 9. All the way round to 4 and a bit of 10. Goes to the final piece of 9. And we barrel that to 10. Oh, it actually seems like I know what I'm doing. So 12 goes in here. Just stick that there. Goes there, that obviously goes there, and to 11, yay, you're doing well. Let's 14 go. 14 goes to 8. That looks up to 13 there. Apparently. Oh, I forgot to do 16. Let's just do 15 goes to 8. You always miss some, don't you? Ooh, 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 ooh. No. And 17. Remember, we only need to do half of that. It's always good to kind of squish it. As I say, this is the advantage of foam. You can be a little bit ginger with it. Squish it to make it do what you want it to. We're going to obviously bash this with the Dremel because, well, I do like the overall shape. It could do with making a bit more ergonomic. Okay. That goes to 13. Does that merge like that? Yeah, that goes to 13. I'll go like that. That will most likely go like that. that, I think, is half of our skull, or just a little over half of the skull. We'll probably make the snout a little shorter. Maybe a little bit wider. Let's just add a little bit more glue. Yeah. Let that dry. And then give that another go at sticking it better. As I say, very forgiving. And now for the jaw. Jawdy, 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 jawdy. 18, 19, and 20. We will of course need to put teeth into this jaw, but that's the fun part, or at least the part where I get to play and personalize the piece. Once again, pig, not wolf. Still, a wonderful pattern. You dry yet? No. Actually, while this is drying, we can move on to the second bit. We go to the side. You two can as well. Now we're going to be using a pattern I have already created. one of my own design. You may notice slightly different style. A little bit more rough or rougher. Has a greater, yeah, that'll do style. Because in the end, yeah, it'll do. I just need to get the foam. Here we go. Now don't be confused and think this is a different type of foam because it's a different colour. It's just older. And not as thick. Am I going to fit them all on one? Probably not. Probably not. So we will be creative. Potentially very creative. Now, do. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I think I should know what I'm doing anyway. Lid. There we go. You may notice there being a lot less careful about how I cut this template out. It's for a couple of reasons. One, I made this template myself and I'm a lot more familiar with it. I'm not using someone else's work. I am kind of able to be a bit more flexible. But additionally, this isn't necessarily, this doesn't necessarily need to be exact, because the nature of this template is that it's going to be stretched over footwear and moulded into shape. So this is really just an approximate, and this pattern was designed for a much larger foot and will be used by the person wielding the footwear. So it doesn't necessarily need to be that exact. Yeah, this is going to be heavily cut down and trimmed. Therefore, it can be a rough approximation. There you go. That, get rid of that, and I'll just stick it there. Isn't that a wonderful bodge job? So we're just going to stick that together like that. Okay, now back to our jaw. $19, $18, and $20. Go. It's one nice chunky jaw. As I say, probably going to shorten the snout a little, do some tarting up, and I think that may be nice and dry now, so we'll just give those extra stick, so that will emphasize the, yeah. So yeah, it'll need kind of smoothing out, tweaking. Sort of the fact that sort of the other one will sit there should kind of give it a bit more rigidity. It's a bit sort of wibbly at the moment, and we'll stick the jaw on if they want the jaw on. And we'll have a look at some examples of jaws in real life, pig skulls in real life, just to get an assessment on what we're wanting to do. Boom. Perfect. You'd never know. Obviously it's not ideal. Ideally you want kind of a single piece. That's perfect and virginal and pure. But that's not always a possibility. Attempt to get these somewhat symmetrical. We're going to have a bash at them with the table sander. It's a lot quicker than using the Dremel. Ooh. Just gonna hold them together like this and swing around. And Perfect. Really? It's that's the more important part. Bit more maybe. Yep, that'll do. Yeah, just give me 2 seconds. You don't need to see this. It's oh, go on then. I'll show you. Do. Yep, that'll do. As I say, this doesn't need to be perfect. Yes, I could spend the same amount of time as I did with the first template, but this one is going to be completely covered, or mostly covered, in bits and bobs and zits and blaps and stuff. So this is just kind of the rough base, the former. So it doesn't need to be perfect. Likely very little of this is actually going to be seen. And to be honest, everyone here is sort of, if you are a frequenter of my streams, I've very recently used this template. Hell, I very recently made this template. And someone really liked it and they wanted me to make another one. So, you know, that's what we're doing here. Making another one. But this set isn't going to be used on the field. This isn't for LARP, so the person who's wanting this doesn't need it to be as detailed as the last one or necessarily as rugged, because this is mostly for a fancy dress costume. So we're going to go for relatively quick and easy. And we're going to sort of cover this. This is dryad. This is mostly going to be sort of vegetation and ivy detail work. That's it for the glue. No more of you. Just to dry it off a little quicker. Okay. This probably could do with a little bit longer to curate. Yeah. But in the end, it'll do. You can always put a piece of foam in the Trust the process. Just nip it together. So we're just basically trying to get a basic boot shape. Pinch the ends together, and when it dries we can just bevel or Dremel, multi-tool any imperfections out. Cover any issues, hide our shame. Just need to wait until it's dried, and we'll bash it with the heat gun. Stretch it out over a nice pair of boots. There we go. Numero 1. You see, there's a little bit of an imperfection there where the join is, but that just will be a point that we make sure to cover up. The behind the scenes that no one will look at. So you find this is the difference between a pattern that you make for yourself and a pattern that actually you buy commercially. pattern that you buy commercially, once it's made, needs to look and effectively be a finished product. Once that's done, it will be as good as they promised. Anyone can pick it up and without necessarily too much skill, make it. But when you make yourself, all it needs to do is be good enough for the job you are doing, what you are making. And I just need a base, something that's sort of vaguely shoe-shaped for me to work off of. If I commercially sort of bought a form for a shoe, it wouldn't look nothing like this that I've made. I'm talking to myself, but it's a justification at least. Yep. And with that, we're done. It's not perfect. It doesn't need to be. I'll come back later and sort that out. It's going to have a whole thing on it anyway. As I say, it's going to be covered, it's going to be hidden, you know. My shame will never be known. Cool. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, that'll do. It's been a 1.5 hour stream. Or sorry, 2.5 hour stream. That sounds about right. We have made half of a nice skull. Grr, arg. Sorry, it should be grr, arg. And 2 bugger it'll do booties. Booties! And a bit of a mess. So I'm going to clean myself up, have an early dinner, and have a nice long bath. So thank you very much for that one person who stayed around for 1 second.